Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this first part of the shooting game that we are going to develop in our next couple of lectures. So today I'm going to shoot the first part, and later on in the next 4 or 5 days you will get the other 4 to 5 parts also of the shooting game. So what we are going to do today, we are going to develop, this much of the shooting game, right, that we are here for. So as you can see, there are two players, and I'm able to move this first player both in the left as well as right direction, right? So how am I able to do that, and how I brought these two players on this green background? That's what we are going to check out today. So be there with me till the end and don't skip anything so that you can understand each and everything in a good way. Closing this window and coming back on this shoot1.py named file. So I've already downloaded all the images which I'll be using in this game, right? And let's now begin with importing the main module, which is the Pygame module, right? That's what we were working on. I hope you guys remember the name of this package very well. So earlier I told you how you can use free games for developing games on Python. Now that's the second module on which I have already told you the basic things of in the previous week, and in this week we are going to focus on some advanced concepts of Pygame. Right now, the next thing that we need to do is we need to initialize it. We need to initiate it. So pygame dot init. If you don't know why I'm doing it, I would request you to please go and check my previous tutorials in which I've explained this many times why this init function is mandatory for us to use. Then let's use two different variables. So one is going to help us in controlling the width of the screen, and the second one is going to help us in controlling the height of the screen. That is absolutely correct. So we can do it like this also. So I would like its value to be dependent on the screen width. So I just can, so I've used this type conversion method here. Why I am doing it? Because if I'll multiply this screen with zero point 0.8, what will happen? The answer may come in a decimal. This may give to us a decimal value as well. So I don't want a decimal value to get saved in this variable. I want only the integer part of that value to get saved. So that is the reason I've used the type conversion method here. Right, let's now come down and use this variable in which I'm going to set my screen's display. So pygame, I'm using the same code, which I used in the very first lecture, in which I showed you how you can use this Pygame module for creating different games on a Python platform. So set mode is a function you know very well that we can use for setting the dimensions of the display. So screen width is going to help us in setting the width, and this is for screen height. So this set mode function basically takes two things as parameters. So the first thing is the width, and the second one is the height of the screen. Right, then we can come down and let's call this pygame dot display, right? And then we can set the caption. So what do you want to see as a caption getting reflected? So I would like to see shooting game. Fine, that's what I would like to see as a caption getting reflected on the window. It's time for us to set the frame rate, the speed with which we want to see the game running. For that, we can use this clock variable by game dot time dot clock. Know it very well, right? Because we have used it many times in the previous games also. Then we can set the frame rate per second. So I'm setting it to 60. It is only your call. If you want your game to run a bit slow, you can reduce it down to 30 or 35, right? So 30 is going to give you a good uh, you'll be able to see the player moving in, you know, it'll be it'll be somewhat slow. But if you want to make it fast, you can change it to 60. So just try out different values, try assigning this FPS different values. So as you check the exact value you can use for uh, making your game appear more appealing. Okay, it's time for us to define the player action variable. So for moving the player in the left direction, I'm using this moving underscore left variable. And for when the game will start, I don't want that to run automatically in the left or the right direction. So initially, I would like to see it stationary. That's the reason I have initialized it with this value false. Same thing I am going to do with the second variable also, which is going to help us in moving the player in the right direction. So move right is also going to be false. Then it's time for us to set the background color. So for that, again we need a variable. So bg can we can use. And now for setting a black background, you can put 0, comma 0, comma 0. If you want to see a green background, greenish kind of background, the way I showed you, let me just run this game and show you the background. So it's somewhat greenish, right? So if you want to see this kind of background, you can keep the value of green larger in comparison to blue and red, right? So I'm taking red as 120. I'm taking 120 for red, and for B I've taken 144, and for G I've taken 201. Right, it's time for us to define a function which can help us in drawing the background. So draw bg, that's the function I am going to make use of. So whatever names I'm using for different functions, it's your call what you want to use. It's not like if I have used draw underscore bg, so you also have to use this draw underscore bg. It is a user defined function. So if you have some other name in your mind, you can use that. Fine. Now for filling the background with the color we have defined over here, we can use this screen dot fill. So fill is a function you can use for filling the background with a specific color. Now, as we guys know that the color is in this PG named variable, so that's the reason we need to pass it as a parameter over here. It's time for us to create a class with the help of which we can create a soldier. Right, so let's have a class with name soldier only. Right, and as you guys know very well, there is this pygame.sprite which we used earlier in the car racing game also, if you remember, for creating our main player. So we need to first use this init function. Here also I'm going to make use of uh, inheritance, right? And self, then we need to pass these parameters, character type, and then x comma y, the coordinates of the point at which I want to see it getting reflected initially. Then scale, the size of the player. Then speed. With the help of this variable, we can control the speed of the player with which it will move when we will press the left and right direction keys. It's time for us to use this pygame.sprite for creating the player, and let's call this self parameter here. Fine. Okay, now we can initialize the speed to equal to speed like this. Then I would like to see it facing in the right direction. So one I am passing to this self dot direction, and then to this self dot flip what we can do, we can use false for this. Self.flip is equal to false. As simple as that. If you want to know why I have passed false over here, please do check my previous tutorials in which I have explained everything related to Pygame. And also, if you want to learn how you can make use of that free games module, you are most welcome to check the tutorials which I shooted right in the beginning when I started game development. Right, I have shooted many lectures on that free games, and definitely those lectures, if you'll see, you're going to get a good experience of how you can use free games for creating amazingly interactive games on a Python platform. It's time for us to use a variable img. So this we'll use for loading the player's image we want to use on our game. So as you guys know very well, that's the function we can use for loading the player's image. So I would like to use this one for now. So its name is, if you want to find out the full name of this player, you can simply check the properties. So here you can see it is 0.png. So the complete name is 0.png. We have to put the complete name over here, 0.png. Okay, fine. Now let's now call this self.image. For transforming, or you can say for setting the scale, or if you want to control the size of the player, you can make use of this transform dot scale function. Right, that's a new function. We have used it for the first time. Transform dot scale, remember the name of this function. So using this you can, pass the values with help of which you can scale down or scale up an image you're using on your games window. So the first thing you have to pass to this scale function as a parameter is the image, the size of which you want to control. And then inside this bracket, you can use this int for type conversion. And then the second parameter that you need to pass is the image's width. So how can you get that? That's a function with the help of which you can get the image's width. Right. Now, if you want to suppose scale it down to scale to this value, scale it up to this value, or scale it down to this value. So what you have to do, once you're done with calculating this whole thing, you need to multiply it by scale. So we can come here, and the width of the image can be in decimals also. So in order to convert it into integer, we have used this int keyword over here, which we generally, so it's a type conversion which is happening, right? Okay, now it's time for us to copy this entire thing. So we need to copy it till here, I think. Fine, and then we can put a comma. I think it's, the formula is good to go. And here we have to do the same thing with the height too. Okay, I think it's good to go. Right. So, this concept is very similar to the one that we used to use in Game Lab, if you remember. So, there was a block with name sprite.scale, with the help of which you can scale up or scale down an image. Same thing we have used here also. So, that's why when I was teaching you about Game Lab, I told you to pay attention on everything, whatever I was teaching at that time. Self.rect. It's time for us to now get it converted into a rectangle shape. So that's the function with the help of which we can do it. Okay. Then I want to see it at what points. I would like to see it at this point, x comma y. Okay, so initially when the game will start, we will be able to see the player at this point. Let me just enlarge the size of my font so that you guys can see the whole code very well. So till now we have done till here, and we are done with defining the code for the class with which is going to help us in creating the soldier. It's time for us to define the code with the help of which we can make the soldier move in the left and the right direction. So for that we are going to have a different function. So let's have a function with name move and self. You remember we defined two variables right on the top, one with name moving right and the other with name moving left. So these are the two variables which along with self I'm going to pass as parameters to this function move which I have created. Now let's use two more variables here. So dx is for controlling the movement along the x-axis, and dy is for the y-axis. Right. Now, what shall we do if we want to see it moving in the left direction? So we can define an if loop, if control statement. So if moving underscore left, if this is true, then what should happen? Then dx should be equal to minus self dot speed. This variable over here is going to help us in controlling the speed or the direction of movement of the player. So if moving left, so dx will be equal to minus self dot speed. Why minus? Because if the player will move in this direction along x-axis, so the x point of whatever point the x of the what we call it, the x value is going to get affected, right? As simple as that. And if the player will move along the x-axis towards the right side, the y is going to get affected. So that's the reason minus is for minus is here because if the player will move in the left direction, the value of x will decrease, it will not increase. While moving towards the right, the value of x will increase. So for left, we are going to keep minus self dot speed, and for right, we'll do self dot speed. We'll use self dot speed. It's time for us to use this flip function, so we can set it to false again. Sorry, we need to set it true because earlier we set it to false. It's time for us to set it to true. Self dot direction towards which side the player should face. So I would like him to face towards the left side if he is moving towards left. If he is moving towards right side, I would like him to face towards the right. Same thing I can do for the right direction also. So here I have to change it to right. See how simple it is. When you will try it, definitely you're going to enjoy it a lot, and you will be able to understand it in a more better way if you will try it on your own and you will practice this code. Self dot flip, we have to then change it to false because now the player is going to move in the right direction, and because we want the player to face towards the right, so one we have to put here. Now once the player starts moving, we need to update its rectangle position also. This rectangle we have defined over here, that's also I would like to update. So we can simply come out of this if control statement, and here we can put self dot rect dot x, right, and plus is equals to dx, and then self dot rect dot y plus is equals to dy. As simple as that. Now if you want to draw everything, right, if you want to draw everything, for in game lab we used to have a draw function, if you remember. Same thing we are going to use here also, same concept. We are going to have a draw function. Let's pass this parameter to this function, and it's time for us to call everything on the screen so that we can visualize everything. So we can use this block transfer function, which is split, and simply we can use this code pygame dot transform dot flip, right? If you remember, flip we can use. So that's, I think that is for the first time we're using this flip for bringing everything on the main window. And then we can put this self dot image over here, self dot flip, and let's set the value to false, and then self dot rect we can pass here. Okay, I think it's good to go. Now we have to set the, we need to set the player, just a second. So we can use this variable player, and here I'm going to call this function soldier. So player and 200 comma 200 comma, setting the coordinates now, 3 comma 5, right? And similarly we can set the coordinates for the enemy sprite also if you want. So I'm changing it to enemy, soldier play, it should be enemy over here, right? And let's change the coordinates because I don't want to see both the player as well as the soldier getting reflected at the same point. We need to change the coordinate also. Just give me a short moment. Yeah, yeah, everything is fine. Enemy 3 comma 5, that's true. Now let's use this variable run is equals to true. Right, so with the help of this variable, we are going to control the main loop, which is the while loop, of course. We use this while loop many times, in the previous lectures also. That's what we are going to use here also in this, for this game. So clock.tick is time for us to set the frames per second, the speed of the game, right? So that's how we can do it. Then it's time for us to draw the background. So we can simply use this draw function. Sorry, not draw function. Draw this background function, draw BG, right? And for drawing the player on the screen, we can use this function player dot draw, right? For drawing the enemy on the screen, we can use this function enemy dot draw. It's time for us to make the player move, right? So what we can do, we can use this move function. What we have done, we have defined everything on the top, and now we are just calling it, we are putting everything inside a loop. Till the time this run value is true, we will be able to control the player's movement also. We will be able to see the background as green, in green. The moment the value of run will become false, everything will go away. That's the simple logic, which I am using from last couple of lectures. But if you want to understand this, the way I have, I'm trying to make you understand. So you'll have to practice everything. Practice is really important if you want to enhance your coding skills. Then we can have this for loop for event in. Now this, as you guys know very well, if you have attended my previous lecture, you must be knowing about this pygame.event.get. So it helps us in getting the input from the user, right? So what we can do, we can check if event.type is equal to pygame.quit. There is a cross, there is a close button which gets reflected when the screen will get open, on which we'll be able to see the whole game. Say the moment player clicks that cross button, that close button, I would like my game to go close. And how can we do that? We can simply make the value of this run change from true to false. Right, the value, the moment it will change, the window will get closed. Now if event.type, right, if event.type is equal to pygame, now it's time for us to check which key the player is pressing, because on the basis of the same, we'll ask the player to move, right? So how can we check the key which the user has pressed? That's the function key down. Okay, now if suppose the user has event dot I think key is the one that we need to use. If event dot key is equal to pygame dot uh, k underscore a, if the user has pressed the a key, I would like this moving underscore left is equal to true. It should become equal to true. What does this mean? That if the user will press the A key, moving left will become true, and we'll start seeing the player moving in the left direction. The same thing, same concept I'm going to make use of for moving the player towards right. So we can simply paste the code here, and here I would like to use it is D opposite to A. So we can put D here and we can change it to false, because initially moving underscore right is true, right? So we can change it to false. So the moment it will become false, the it will start moving in the left direction, in the right direction, sorry. Right, okay. And if suppose you want to close a window based on this condition that the user has pressed the escape key, so you can check for that too, like this k underscore escape is the keyword you can use, and the moment he will press the escape button, what should happen? The value of run should become equal to false, and the user should come out of the game. Now let's define the code with the help of which we can check the button release things. So if let me do one thing. Let me copy this code and I'm putting it here. So if event dot type is equal to pygame dot, it is, so it was for key down when the button will be pressed. If any button, the user presses any button, and this is for key up. So the moment he will release the key, so if that key is equal to A, what should happen? The player should stop moving. So false, we can change it to false. See how simple it is. It's very simple. The moment he will release this B key, the value should become true. Why? Because I don't want to see the player moving in the right direction anymore. Then at the moment, okay, we can simply get rid of this because we don't want to check the release of this escape key, because the game will get over the moment he will press the escape button. And what else can we do? So I think we'll have to update also everything. So for updating the window, we can use this display.update function, right? And that's the one which I generally use for updating everything, if you guys know. And finally we can define this quit function, which is going to help us in quitting the game. So that's the whole code. It's time for us to run the code and see whether we'll get the required output or not. So I am running it. Okay, there are some errors I think I'm getting. Self.rect. Okay, line number 31. On line number 31 we have a small error. What's the error here? That's what we have to find out. We've used this function rect, right? We've used this function rect. Now why is it not giving us the correct output? That's what we have to see. uh, self.rect.center I have used, right? What is the error, by the way? It is throwing, so inconsistent use of tabs and spaces in indentation. Okay, I think there is some indentation issue. Self.image, this is perfectly fine. Self.rect. This function is self.rect is equals to self.image.rect. Why is it not working? We have to find it out. Just give me a short moment. Self.image img pygame.image.load. So we are load, this will load for us the image on the game, and then this will come. Let me close this window and bring this last line a bit closer to the one in which we are getting the error. Self.rect.center is equal to x comma y. This is perfectly fine. Self.rect is equal to self.image. Have I defined this image thing or not? Okay, so this everything is perfectly fine. So we have saved it in this image and then we are calling it here. Okay. Line number 31 is showing me an error. Let me do one thing. Let me check out what I am doing wrong in this code because I've already coded this game. Let me copy these three lines and I'm putting it over here. Yes, it is same. Let me run this. Okay, I'm getting an error again. Okay, earlier it was an indentation error maybe because the code is similar to the one which I defined earlier. I think there is some indentation issue. Not matching the outer indentation level. Okay. Just give me a short moment. Try to find out the indentation error. Everything is fine, but there are some indentation error. Maybe it's not. This is fine. Okay. Let's do one thing. Let's not waste the time. I'm straight away, copying this code which I have defined over here. It's exactly the one which I have defined here. Maybe there are no indentation issues here, right? So this may give us the correct output. Everything is same, fine, but again we are getting indentation issues, indentation error. Let's do one thing. Let me just copy this entire class from here and I'm putting it here. Okay, now it's time for us to run the code. Again, this indentation error. Why this is showing us an indentation error? If event.type is equal to key up, if event.type is equal to key up, okay, No problem. Let's do one thing. See, the code is same, exactly the same. Maybe I have made some indentation issues. That's the reason I'm getting these indentation errors. No problem. We are going to resolve this. Just a second. Okay, I think now it is going to give us the correct output. Everything is same. Okay, don't worry about that uh, coding thing. Everything is same. There were some indentation issues because of which the code was not executing. And now as you can see, if I'm pressing A button, I'm able to move the player in the left direction. If I'm pressing the D key, it is moving in the right direction. And we are able to see both the players. This is the enemy player and this is ours. If you want to change the sprite, this enemy sprite, you can use some other sprite also in the place of this. Right. So what you have to do, you can use some other function. You can use some other image. So what you can do, you can download an image from the internet, simply store it in the folder in which you have saved this shoot1.py file, and when you will run the file, automatically you will get to see the required desired output. Let me now check the comment section if I have anything to answer. Definitely I would like to answer that query, and thank you very much to all of these queries in the comment box. I will respond to your queries on a SAP basis. Right, I'll respond to your queries as soon as possible. Thank you very much for being there with me in this tutorial. Hope you guys enjoyed it a lot. Don't forget to like and share this video in your group so as to make it reach to the maximum students possible, so that they can also come and enjoy these free online coding classes which we are providing. Keep motivating us by sharing your thoughts, your ideas in the comment box. It really motivates us a lot and it really helps us in providing a better content to you guys. Thank you very much.